everyone, welcome back to Body Haven Soaps. My name is Darlene and I am the owner and creator of Body Haven Soaps, and on this channel we go over recipes, formulation, different aspects of what we're creating in the hopes that I can help other creators create. So today's video is going to be all on the colorants that we use in our cold process soap. We're just going to stick with cold process soap. Obviously, some of these colorants I don't even use in cold process soaps, but we need to have a clear understanding of what colorants do in the saponification process, and what colorants are going to have what effects in our soap, so that we can make those decisions and make the soap designs that we're looking for. So having a better understanding of what is a colorant, whether that be a mica, a mineral pigment, a neon color, what is exactly in that and how does that react in the saponification process? Because that's what allows us to decide what colors to use. If we were just to grab whatever we wanted off the shelf and throw it in there and then the color morphs or the color bleeds, well, we should have done our research first. So this is just to help people understand the different colorants that are available to us, which ones are good in cold process soaps, or maybe you're looking for that bleeding effect and that's what you're trying to do. But having that clear understanding is going to allow you to have less ruined batches of cold process soap and a clearer understanding of what you're creating. All right, so when you're first making cold process soap, the color choices are endless. We have so many options out there, and that's awesome. However, some of those colorants may not work in the cold process soap the way that you think they would. When we make our batter, it may look like that beautiful bright color, but then it morphs after the saponification process and we don't have the color that we're looking for. We can have the colorants that bleed. We can have colorants that don't last long, so they fade from the UV rays as well and stuff like that, which is fine. We can use those colorants. We would just package those soaps differently. Okay, so that's what we're going to go over. Okay guys, so first of all, let's go over our micas. They are one of the most common colorants that are used in our cold process soaps. All right, they come in a wide variety of colors, so our options are endless. We can actually take these and blend them with other micas to make another color of our choice. We can create our own, okay? And a true mica, you guys, is actually is mined from the earth, and it's usually a white or a tan color. So the micas that we buy are not true micas. They're not 100% mica. They have minerals, pigmentations, dyes, and stuff added to them to produce the color that is in here. So understanding what a dye is, what a pigmentation is, what a mineral is, oxide, ultramarines, all of those things is what's going to allow us to decide whether this is going to bleed, morph, or change color in our soap. So understanding those are important. It's great to look at a mica and go, oh, that's going to be a beautiful color in my soap. However, something, especially a blue, I find, the blue, you might think this is the color that you're going to get in your soap. However, it morphs or fades during the high pH levels and processing of the saponification of cold process soap. So it may not stay that true blue. All right, so you need to be able to understand how to find what the ingredients are in your micas. Now, Mad Mica is pretty awesome. A number of companies do this, and I think all companies should. It says right on the label what the ingredients are that make this mica. So on this label, you guys, it says there is mica, titanium dioxide, and ultramarine blue. That is what makes this color up. And each of these will have that. All right, so this is called the INCI, okay, so the list of ingredients it took to make this mica. So let's take a look at the Mad Mica webpage. All right, so let's take a look first at the Twilight Blue mica, okay, on Mad Mica's website. Let's scroll down, all right, and you'll see that there is a list here for the INCI, which is a mica with the number of mica, that's used in it. Okay, titanium dioxide, and then the ultramarine blue. That's what makes that twilight blue up. Let's change pages here and let's go to our grape purple mica. And we'll scroll down again, and once again you will see that we have the INCI list here, which is mica, titanium dioxide, magnesium violet, and tin oxide. All right, let's do one more. So if you look at the tangerine dream orange mica, and we will just scroll down. To make this color, they have used mica, titanium dioxide, tin oxide, and iron oxide. Okay, so you can see how we can figure out what is in our micas and how it's going to react in our cold process soap. All right, so we have our micas that are blended with dyes. Okay, keep in mind that the micas that are blended with dye, okay, will fade from the UV lights. Okay. So if they're in the sun or even indoor lighting, you guys, because UVs do come from that, the color can fade over time. So if I have something that has a dye blend in it, if that's what I've decided I'm going to use, I will package it a certain way. It will cure in a dark location where it's not susceptible to the UV lighting. And it is packaged fully, not just in my biodegradable shrink wrap, because over time that color will fade. So I want to keep UV rays away from it. Okay, dyes do tend to bleed or migrate in your soap, so not a great option depending on what you're looking for. And they do not deal well with high pH, so dyes tend to morph or discolor in our cold process soap. Okay, and dyes are synthetic. They are not a natural product. Okay, and they're approved by our FDA, but they are not natural. All right. Now we also have our micas that are colored with minerals and pigment, just like those three that we just went over. And they do come in a wide variety of colors when they're colored with our micas and pigmentation, okay? But they're not light sensitive like a dye. So the ones colored with the minerals and the pigmentation, they don't fade from the UV lights, all right? And they're not sensitive to our pH levels in our soap. So when the saponification process is happening, we don't tend to see morphing of those colors. All right, but mineral pigments are synthetic. They are not natural, okay? This is actually a safer way that it's a synthetic coloring than it is an actual mined colorants, because now we don't have all those heavy metals and stuff that are in our colorants, which we all know isn't good to have high metals in our products. So our oxides, guys, so we're going to go a little bit deeper into that, okay? Let's get rid of our micas here, and let's take a look at our oxides. Okay, so I have a few here. So with our Oxides, ultramarines, these are our mineral pigmentations. We have our indigo powder, okay. We have iron oxide orange. We have iron oxide yellow. We have ruby red iron oxide. We have a brown iron oxide. And we have a green chrome iron oxide, okay. So they come in very specific colors, okay. There's way less of them, okay, and they produce specific shades. All right, so colors produced from all iron oxides are usually red, orange, brown, or black. Okay, from chrome oxides, they're going to produce shades of green and teal. All right, they are not light sensitive, so we're not going to see color fade. They're not going to bleed or go off into other parts of your soap if you're doing swirling. However, you guys, if you put too much of this in a soap bar, it will, as people use your soap bars, it will bleed into washcloths and things like that and can stain skin, hair, things like that. So you have to be careful with how much you're adding. They're very strong colorant, so I don't find you have to add a whole lot. All right. They're not affected by the pH balance in the saponification process of soap. Okay, and they are, like I said, nature identical, but but they are produced in the lab so that we don't have those high metal contents in our oxides and ultramarines, okay? So with an ultramarine, you guys, these are oxides, but with an ultramarine, there's going to be shades of pink, blue, and purple, okay? So that is a little bit different. I do not actually have any ultramarines, but I have all of my oxides. But an ultramarine, if that is what you're looking to pick up, they do not fade from UV lights, okay? They do not bleed. All right, and they do not get affected by the high pH in soap. So they work pretty much exactly the same. They just, ultramarines produce a different color. All right, and once again, ultramarines are also lab made to get rid of the chances of that high mineral content. So we can see the big difference between an oxide, you guys. You can see these are true colors. They're kind of dull. True colors. They're very, very potent coloring. And if we were to open up the mica, you can see that this is a very shiny, powdery colorant. They're completely different products, okay? As far as, because this is mica that's been colored with minerals or pigmentation, but you can see the pigmentation is very deep, and that's why when they're mixed, we get the different colors. All right, so let's talk about cosmetic pigmentation next. With our cosmetic pigmentation, it could be any of these, and that's true, in fact, because we use this to color our cosmetics, okay? And they're usually blends of colorants from dyes, sometimes minerals, pigments, but then we have the ones that are coated, okay? And the plastic coating does three things. So these are most commonly our ultra bright colors, so such as our neon pigments. So these are called pigments, and these are all a bright neon color, okay, as you can see. Now generally these types of things are going to have plastic coatings on them, okay, and those plastic coatings do three things. They make the colorant solvent resistible, okay? That means that they will hold the bright color, okay? If your soap goes through the gel phase, so it gets really hot, it doesn't morph and affect the color, okay, because of that plastic coating that's on them. It's a polymer coating. It's a type of plastic, so to say. And as dyes are notorious for bleeding and morphing and high pH levels and things like that, the polymer 3 prevents that from happening. So we get those nice bright colors that we're looking for. All right, and if you're dealing with a cosmetic pigment, make sure you check out the INCI, okay? And it will tell you what is in there and whether you have that polymer 3 in there or not. So for instance, if we look on our Mad Mica site and we go to Tickled Pink Neon, so let's take a look at that. You will see that it has a polyester 3, which is that coating, acid red colorant, pigment violet. All right, so now we know that it has that acid red 92 is actually a dye. So we know that that's what this is made out of. Okay, so that's why these ones don't morph and change color, is because of that pigmentation. So if that's something that you don't want to use, that is something to keep in mind. All right, okay, so they do come in a rainbow of colors. You can mix colors together. This is just what I have, you guys. They do not typically fade from UV lights because they do have that coating on them, okay? And they tend not to bleed because of that coating on them, so we get the nice clean lines or swirls that we're looking for. They're not affected by the pH level in our soap because they do have that coating on them, and keep in mind they are a synthetic product. So hopefully this is making sense to you guys. So that is our mineral oxides, ultramarines, that is our micas, and these are our pigmentations. Usually coated are going to be our neons and such. Okay, so we also have our natural colorants, okay, and we can produce a wide range of colors with our natural colorants. Many herbs and spices, you guys, they are going to fade with the UV lights, okay, so keep that in mind when you're naturally coloring soaps. But they tend not to bleed and migrate in your soap. And they're also, they can be affected by the pH and morph. Beetroot, for instance, so the beet powder, like I have here, it will actually turn, through the saponification process, it'll turn a yellow, okay? So keep that in mind when you're doing that. And then they are considered a natural and they're not synthetic, okay? So just keep that in mind when you're using the natural colorants, is they can morph, they do fade, all right? So natural colorants and things like that is something you're going to want to package fully, and certain ones will morph through that saponification process, okay? So when we're looking at this, you guys, this is carrot powder, and this will kind of give me an orange color. So I've used this in my carrot turmeric soap bar that I make. This is a beet powder. Remember, in a cold process soap, it will kind of turn an orange color. Spinach powder, so we can get that green out of that. We also have clays that are considered a natural colorant. So this is Brazilian gold clays. And with clays, you guys, I find they don't fade. They're a beautiful colorant. And they work really well in cold process soap. And not only do they color our soap, they actually bring minerals and content to our soap. So I love using clays. You guys know this throughout my videos. We actually have Brazilian black clay here. We have our gold clay, you have Rosol clay, Dead Sea clay. So you can see how these can produce that very organic color, which I absolutely love. The other day, you guys seen me use the Australian red reef clay, and I made this color. Okay, and these soap bars won't fade. All right, this is the color that the red clay gave me. It is going to stay this color. It will also bring that minerals and properties to that soap bar, making this in a great bar of soap. All right, so those are some of our natural colorants. Just keep in mind that depending on what you're using, the natural ground, like carrot, spinach, beet, they can change colors with morphing and fade. Your clays stay a very strong color. They don't tend to fade and they don't morph on you. So those are the options that you have there. There's all kinds. You guys can use all kinds of herbs. You guys have seen me do herb infusions, and we can use, say, green tea, and I can infuse an olive oil, the portion of olive oil that I'm going to put in my soap recipe, and I can get that nice green tea color into my soap that way. But those do tend to fade over time, so keep that in mind. All right, now we have our dyes and our lakes, you guys. So we have our lake colorants here. I'm just going to move some of this stuff out of the way. We have our lakes here, okay, which these are made with dye, you guys. So it does say right on here the INCI, and these are from Windy Point, Blue One Lake. So it is the Blue One is the colorant, okay. And then we have our dyes. These ones are from Fizz Fairy, and these are FDA approved dyes. Okay, and these are synthetic, you guys. This is what I use in my bath bombs. But these are just your dyes. So we've got multiple different colors, and they look really dark, but once you bloom those in water, they turn to the actual color, okay? And then we have the liquid dyes, okay? So lakes and dyes, okay, they produce a rainbow of color, so color options are endless. I just purchased a whole ton of samples from Breaking the Mold of different dyes for my bath bombs. I think I got 50 different colors, and they're just small little ones like this. Okay, and this much dye goes a long way. This is Shamrock Green. You can see it kind of looks that orange color in here, but when you bloom it, it'll actually turn green. This is Blue Realm. As you can see, it kind of almost looks a purple color, but it will be blue. These are dyes, okay? I have like 50 different colors like that I purchased from them. So the rainbow of colors is, in fact, a true statement when it comes to the dyes. They are synthetic, all right? They can be sensitive to light and fade. Dyes will also bleed, so keep that in mind. That's why I'm saying if I had a mica that had a dye in it, I'm going to expect that mica to bleed, okay? And it can morph as well. So that's why I want to know what's in my mica so I can make that decision of how that's going to react in my soap batter. All right? And keep in mind that all dyes are synthetic. Okay, but they have to be approved by the FDA. So there should be an FDA approval number. If you look on any website that you order from, it should say that it's approved by the FDA, and it should have all of the information on their websites for you. Okay, so that kind of explains this. The difference between a liquid dye and a powdered dye, you guys, these are just straight dyes. Okay, if you get dyes in the liquid form, as you can see, I got this one from Fizz Fairy. Okay, and this is Diva liquid dye. This one is Ocean Blue liquid dye. And we have Teal liquid dye. So the difference is these are a dry powdered dye that you bloom. The liquid dyes have water mixed in them already and they're bloomed, but they do also have a preservative in them because water was added to them prior to them selling it to you. So it will have that preservative in these, okay? So keep that in mind. Okay guys, so now that we've gone over all those colorants and you understand what a mica is, you understand what a pigment is, you understand what minerals are, and you understand what dyes are. And you know how to go about finding what is in the colorant you're purchasing, so you know, am I using part of a dye that's in that mica? Is it going to bleed? Is it going to morph? Those are, I mean, it can happen and you're not expecting it. But it's a good way to prevent lost batches of cold processed soap. So it's important to have this basic understanding of what these colorants are going to do during that saponification process. All right. Now the other big question a lot of people have is, how much do we use? Okay, which is a very good question, because when we're making this, I could take, let's say, a nice blue here. Okay, and I could use this nice blue color. And it may turn, now depending on what's in it, let's take a look, mica, titanium dioxide, chromium green oxide. So that's probably not going to be a colorant for this example. So this has, okay, this would be a good colorant for this example. I could put this blue, we usually see it with the darker blues, and I could put this into my cold process soap, and as I blend this color in, it's almost going to change to a grayish purple color. All right, and when it does that, we may be tending to add more mica in that soap because we want that blue color, but actually when it saponifies, because it does have the ultramarine blue in this, it actually goes back to the blue color. So it may look one way in the raw soap batter and then be a nice bright color in the other one. If you add too much, when people go to use your soap product, they are going to get all kinds of blue colorant all over, and it kind of tends to make the soap not feel great. So we really should watch that, and we need to understand how our colorants react in soap. So that's why it's important to understand your colorants and know what's in it to make these different colors up. Like I said, micas are the most common colorants that we use. This one has mica, iron oxide, titanium dioxide, and tin oxide. So it's probably not going to change too much from what it is that it looks like in the raw soap batter. With something that is a deeper blue, I can expect that to turn, because it's got that ultramarine in it, to almost look that grayish purple color. But then when it does saponify and go through that process, it actually turns back to a blue. So that's something that I understand through the research that I have done. So there's different usage rates out there, you guys. And if you go on Mad Mica's site, let's quickly take a look at that again. It does have suggested amount usage rate there. Okay. I'm not sure about other sites, but Mad Mica does have that on there. I've never really paid attention to it. I use my colorant according to what that colorant is going to bring to my soap. So if I'm looking for a really bright color, then I'm going for that really bright pigmentation that maybe have that polymer coating on it. Okay, if I'm looking for a very earthy color, I am turning to my clays and I am turning to my natural colorants. Okay, those are going to give you those very earthy colors. Your neons are going to give you those very bright popping colors. Okay, and I wouldn't use straight dyes in a cold process. Let's just state that. I'm not saying you can't. They are going to bleed. They can stain clothing. It's not something I would specifically use in a cold process soap. I don't think I've ever used a dye. I have used micas that have been colored with dye, and those are touchy enough. I don't think I'd ever go to a dye for a cold process soap. Okay, but these micas, understanding what's in it is the biggest thing, because micas are our most common thing that we're using. So understanding what these colors bring. Can you mix a pigment, let's say a nice bright orange with orange from Mad Micas? Can you mix these two colors to create another color? Absolutely you could. And you're going to mix that together and get that, but understand that your pigment neon, that this is going to have the polymer coating on it so it doesn't bleed or anything else. This one here is made with your Oxides, so it's not going to bleed or morph, and you could mix these two colors together to create a brighter orange. So our options are kind of endless when it comes to colorants. The biggest thing is to understand how to find what you're looking for the soap product that you're going to be producing. So like I said, if you're looking for that really earthy color, you're going to turn to your clays and your natural colorants. If you're looking for very bright colors, I'm going more towards my pigmentations or mixing my pigmentations with my micas. And then for straightforward coloring, I'm going to look at my micas. I'm going to look what my micas are made out of, so I know how that micas, I have an idea of how that mica is going to react in that cold process, so to design my soaps. Okay, so I'm hoping that this cleared up a lot of things. I mean, my goal on this channel is to help creators create. So I'm trying to provide information on the research that I have done, and understanding. When I first made soaps, I had a lot of failed batches because of morphing and this and that, and understanding how our colorants work in soaps, how micas are made a huge difference in the my soap production, and how I have soap that is successful and not morphing and changing all these weird colors. Okay, so hopefully this helps out. If you enjoyed this video and you gained some information from it, you can give me a thumbs up. I appreciate your guys' support, and thanks for watching.